In our homes, there's this silent hero we barely even notice. Well, until it quits on us. I'm talking about the air conditioner. It just hums along day in and day out, keeping us cool. But what we don't see is that it's fighting this constant, invisible war against the environment. So, how does it do it? How does this box of metal and wires actually win a battle against some of the toughest climates on the planet? That's exactly what we're going to get into. We'll look at the brutal conditions, the way a system breaks down under all that pressure, and most importantly, the strategies to keep this piece of tech alive. It's really a story of engineering versus nature, and it's happening right in our backyards. And to really see this war up close, we're going to zoom in on one specific battlefield, Cutler Bay, Florida. Now, this isn't just any hot place. Oh no, it's basically a perfect storm of environmental challenges that pushes an AC unit to its absolute breaking point. First off, just think about the sheer workload. In a place like Cutler Bay, your AC doesn't really get a winter break. It's running for about 10 months straight. That's like telling a marathon runner they have to sprint for pretty much the entire year. There's almost zero downtime. But it's not just fighting the heat. With the humidity just hanging out around 75%, your AC is also working overtime as a full-time dehumidifier. We're talking pulling gallons and gallons of water out of the air every single day. That puts a massive strain on the whole system. And then, of course, you've got the heat itself. It's not just about making a room feel a little cooler. This machine has to constantly battle 90-degree temperatures, fighting to maintain this huge temperature gap between inside and outside. That takes a crazy amount of energy. So you see, it's not one single enemy. It's really a three-pronged attack. You've got the crazy heat, the never-ending humidity, and, because it's right on the coast, you have this corrosive salt air blowing in. Each one of those is attacking the system in a totally different way. And the local geography just makes everything so much worse. That salt spray from Biscayne Bay, it literally eats away at the metal parts. All the debris from the trees along Old Cutler Road, that can clog up the outdoor unit, basically choking it. And the extra moisture from places like the Black Creek Canal just adds to that massive humidity problem. So how does this all add up? Well, these things don't just cause random failures. No, they create a very predictable domino effect, a specific chain reaction of breakdowns caused directly by the climate. Okay, so here's how it usually goes down. First, that salt in the air starts corroding the copper lines that carry the refrigerant. This causes tiny little leaks. As the refrigerant seeps out, the compressor, which is basically the heart of the system, has to work way harder to cool your home, which eventually leads to burnout. At the same time, all that humidity is a perfect breeding ground for algae in the drain lines, which causes clogs, and then water backs up. And finally, the constant, non-stop use just fries the small electrical parts, like capacitors. It's a total system assault. So how can you spot this train wreck before it happens? Well, these failures give off some pretty clear warning signs. If you notice your electric bill is slowly creeping up, or the AC just seems to be running all the time, you might have a refrigerant leak. See those dreaded water stains on the ceiling? Classic sign of a clogged drain. And if the air just doesn't feel cold anymore, or the system is struggling to even kick on, you're probably looking at dirty coils or an electrical problem. I know, it sounds pretty grim, right? But listen, it's not a losing battle. There's actually a really clear three-part strategy for fighting back against this coastal climate and keeping your system up and running. The counterattack is all about being both reactive and proactive. It starts with knowing you can get fast emergency repairs when things go wrong. But just as important is doing proactive maintenance to catch those small problems before they turn into total disasters. And finally, it's about having a smart plan for when it's time to just replace the old clunker. And that brings up the big question. When do you repair and when do you replace? Here's a pretty good rule of thumb. If your system is less than 12 years old and the repair is going to cost you less than half of what a new unit would, yeah, go ahead and repair it. But if it's over 15 years old or a huge part like the compressor dies, it's almost always smarter in the long run to just replace it, especially if it's an old, inefficient model. And when we talk about efficiency, the magic number is the SEER rating. That stands for Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio. The easiest way to think about it is like miles per gallon for your car. The higher the number, the less energy it wastes. The building code in Florida now requires a minimum of 16 SEER, which is a huge jump from older units and can seriously cut your cooling costs by 30 or even 40%. Oh, and one quick but really important tip. Any big AC job, especially a full replacement, requires a permit from Miami-Dade County. Now, this isn't just red tape, I promise. It's there to make sure the work is done safely and up to code, which protects your house, your insurance, and even your home's resale value.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. We've been really focused on this one machine in this one town. But this intense local battle between an air conditioner and the Florida coast, well, it tells a much, much bigger story.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Cutler Bay is an extreme example, for sure. It's like the front lines in the war between our technology and the environment. What happens here is basically a stress test that shows us all the weak points in the machines we rely on every day. And this chart really shows you the damage. I mean, look at this. In a nice, mild climate, an AC unit could last you 18 years. Not bad. In South Florida, that drops to maybe 14 years. But in a coastal spot like Cutler Bay, with that salty air assault, you might only get 12 years. The environment is literally shaving years off the life of the machine. So here's the real takeaway. This isn't just about air conditioners. It's about how all of our essential technology, whether it's a car in a snowy place needing winter tires or your phone battery dying in the freezing cold, it isn't one size fits all. It has to be constantly maintained and adapted to win the battle against its own unique local environment. And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about. Think about the tech you rely on in your own life, in your climate. It's fighting that same battle, whether you can see it or not. So the only question is it winning?